Well, good evening, church family. We are coming to you live from 150 Castlegate. I have our distinguished panel here. We have, what's your name?
Triple Trouble.
Ethan, Triple Trouble Lumen. We have Rockstar, Zachary Lumen, and me, Christine Brianne Lumen. So we are diving into Romans 7 again. Last week on Easter, we looked at Romans 7 for a little bit. Did y'all have a good Easter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? What was the best part of your Easter?
Eating.
Eating. Food or candy?
Both.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't say candy more than food. Yeah, we had a good Easter. It's a little different than what we're used to, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it was good. We had some good family time, and we're excited to dive back into Romans 7. Do you guys remember anything from last week? That was like 168 hours ago. Do you remember anything we talked about from the first 6 verses of Romans? We'll see how much you remember.
The law leads to death.
The law leads to death. How's that for an encouraging Easter message? Yeah, the law leads to death. Do you remember something, Ethan? Triple Trouble? Ethan's a little tired. You'll have to understand.
An adulteress is someone who is married to a living man and then marries to another living man, while she is married to the other living man and then she marries to the other living man.
Okay. And what did the adulteress have to do with the law? Does anybody remember? Why did Paul use the adulteress to illustrate the law? Anybody? That's tough. I'm impressed y'all remember that much. But Paul told us that the law is what we used to be married to, right? But now, like you said, we're dead to the law. Why? Because we're alive to Christ, God. Yes, because of what Jesus did, we can identify with Him, and we are alive with Him, and so the law is dead to us. And so the beauty of that is that then the believer is the most powerful creature in all the world, because they have victory and are able to fulfill the law. So what we're going to look at tonight is verses 7 through 12, and it talks about, okay, look, if we're dead to the law, then what good is it? Why do we need the law? What's the purpose of the law? Who cares about the law? And especially when we're kind of facing this corona thing, it'd be easy to say, well, this is God's universe. He created it, so why doesn't He just fix it? Why doesn't He make it go away? And so Paul's going to look in a similar way at the law and see, well, then, if the law is showing us our sin, then isn't the law bad? Does that make sense? All right, so let's dig into it. Let's read around the room. 7, 8, sleepyhead, and 9. Go ahead, reading for us.
What should we say then? Is the law sin? Absolutely not. On the contrary, I would not have known sin if it were not for the law. For example, I would not have known is to covet if the law had not said, do not covet.
And since seizing an opportunity for the commandment produced in me coveting every kind for apart from the law, sin is dead. Before I knew about the law, I was alive, but then the commandment came, sin came to life, and I died.
All right, so he's asking, is the law sin? Is the law sin, Christine?
Yes.
No.
No,
No.
It makes me want
It'd be like if you had something in your teeth. Zach, would you tell her if she had something in her teeth?
Maybe.
You think so?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's embarrassing to tell people, isn't it? But if you like them, you want to take care of them and tell them that something's in their teeth, right? You don't have anything in your teeth. But the law is kind of like that person who comes along and says...
She has hair in her teeth.
Yes, she does. But the law comes along and shows you what's wrong, okay? The law isn't what's wrong, but it shows you what's wrong. Like, let me ask you this. Have any of your parents ever been pulled over by a police officer?
Yes.
One of us? Mom or Dad?
Yeah, you.
Me?
Yes.
You're not supposed to remember that. Did I really get pulled over?
Zach's
Did I get a ticket?
Yes.
Aww.
Zach started crying because he thought you were going to jail.
He started crying?
I was young.
Oh, thanks, Zach. You didn't want me to go to jail, did you? That's so sweet of you.
I think.
So let me ask you, was it the police officer's fault that I was speeding?
No.
Okay.
It was the signs.
The sign's fault? I wish I could have remembered that when I turned my ticket in. I would have told them that. No, it was my fault, right? I was the one who's breaking the law. So it's not the law's fault that I'm breaking the law. The law just shows me that I'm breaking the law. The law shows me my sin. So, Ethan, you read verse 8. It tells us the first thing that law does. Twice it's going to tell us in these 6 verses. Ethan, you okay? Poor guy's struggling. He's just been lazying about all day long. It's tough work.
There's nothing to do outside.
I know. It's been a rainy day. It's not fun. But twice this passage is going to tell us that sin seizes an opportunity. It takes hold of an opportunity that's in front of it. And the first way it does that was in verse 8, which Ethan read for us so well. It produces in us all kinds of sin. So we have sin in our lives, right? And then the law comes and shows us that sin. And in showing us that sin, the sin inside us becomes activated and it produces all kinds of other sin. It spills out into more and more sin. Do you remember the word lawlessness from last week?
Mm-hmm.
What came out of lawlessness?
More lawlessness.
More lawlessness, right? So this is making that same point. That you have sin in your life. Christine, I'm sorry. But you have sin in your life. Okay? And the law shows that sin to you. It's like a mirror that you look at in the morning and you realize, oh, my hair's not straight. Or, oh, I have that pimple I need to pop. Or whatever I need to fix. Okay? So the law exposes the sin for what it is. And when that happens, the sin begins to grow and show itself in greater and greater ways. So the first way that sin seizes that opportunity is through the law. And it produces all kinds of more sin. How about the other 2 ways? It's going to show us in verses 10, 11, and 12. 2 more ways that the sin seizes an opportunity. So let's read around the room. We'll start with the guys this time. Will you read 10, Ethan 11, and Christine 12?
I found that the commandment that was supposed to bring life actually brought death. For sin seizing an opportunity through commandment deceived me through it killed me.
So then the law is holy, and the commandment is holy and just and good.
Okay, good. So 2 other things that this happens with sin is exposed by the law. The law is good, it's holy, it's righteous. That's what Paul says. But when the law exposes sin, sin seizes that opportunity. It has already produced more sin. And then, secondly, it deceives. Have you ever been deceived, Ethan?
I don't know what that means.
Okay. Do you know what that means, Zach?
No.
Do you know what that means?
Trick.
Tricked or lied to, right?
Oh, I have.
Do you know what a lie is, Ethan? Have you ever told a lie? That's good. I was worried you were going to lie about lying. That would be bad.
My friend did.
Your friend lied about lying?
In
It happens.
kindergarten, Miss Porter said, raise your hand if you have lied before, and he didn't raise his hand.
Busted. Right? Yeah, and that makes the point that he's already made. The sin, it just grows and grows and grows when the law exposes it for what it is. And so because of that, sin deceives us. And then finally, the third thing that sin does, it kills us. Sin kills. Now, is the law what's killing us, or is it sin that's killing us?
Sin.
Sin, right? But how do we know that it's sin?
Because the law just tells us what to do, but we choose to do it.
So Paul said he wouldn't even know what sin was if the law hadn't told him what it was, right? The example he used was coveting. Coveting is if you want something that someone else has, right? So if you don't know that it's wrong to do that, you're not answerable to that. You don't have anything that is required of you because of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the law comes along and it exposes your sin for what it really is. And so Paul's problem with the law, and we're going to get into it more next week, is that the law is exposing sin for what it truly is. But the law can't save you, right? No matter how good you try to be, Zachary, you're still a sinner, right? You're still going to hit your brother. You're still going to yell at me sometimes. Sometimes. You're still going to get angry or frustrated, right? That happens. And so you can try to fulfill the law all you want. You can try to do all the right things, but you're never going to measure up. And so the reason I told y'all last week that the believer is the most powerful creature in all the world is because the believer is able to fulfill the law because the Spirit lives in them. Got it? Okay. So we want to just make the point tonight that the law is, as Paul says, holy and righteous and good. It'd be very easy to take this book and say, well, it's the Bible's fault, it's God's fault that I'm sinning. He's putting these things in front of me. But Paul says it's not the law at all. It's the sin that is inside of you that is exposed and magnified by the law because it has something to compare it to. When I compare a good student to a bad student, the good student's going to look even better because they're being compared to the bad student, right? And so what happens is this holy, righteous law comes in and we compare it to Christine, who is a beautiful young lady, but she's a sinner just like all of us. And when we compare the two, it's going to show her to be the sinner that she is because she's being exposed to the law as it shows who God is, okay? And so what Paul's going to say next week is, that's who I used to be. I was futile in my attempts to please God because I was trying to fulfill the law, but I can never do it. You will never be good enough, Ethan. You will never be good enough, Zach. We will never be able to do all that the law requires. But if you believe in Jesus, then He puts His law in you. He fulfills the law. He does every part of it on His own, and He does it on your behalf so that you are able to be acceptable to God. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Everybody got that? Mm-hmm. Y'all ready for dinner?
Yes.
All right, me too. We're going to eat, but in a minute, because we're going to do a song that Christine picked out. Why don't you tell us what song you picked, Christine, and maybe tell us why you decided to do this one.
I chose to do Break Every Chain because this passage is about breaking free of sin and being free.
All right. And we're going to try it without words tonight. So this could be interesting. Some of us are a little scared of that, but we're going to have faith and try and do it, right? And we're just being watched by people who love us. So if we get it wrong, that's okay. All right? There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. There is power in the name of Jesus. Break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. Break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. There's an army rising up. There's an army rising up. rising up. Good job. Love you guys. Have a great night.